Hello everyone and welcome to episode 8 of my Orc Shaman level 1 through 60 playthrough in the Season of Discovery, and we are back where phase 2 has gone live this week, where I logged in to my Orc Shaman right before phase 2 released and I was hanging out in Thunderbluff, and then phase 2 switched over. We can say goodbye to phase 1 and we can begin our adventures in the next phase of the Season of Discovery, where at the start of this video I did just that. Where basically at the start of this phase we are going to be continuing what we've been doing in phase 1 pretty much, because we ended things at level 25 and we are in the middle of multiple zones, so I kind of just went around the world and did a bunch of stuff for about 5 hours. But as we do that, I kind of want to talk a bit about what is new in phase 2. Where of course the big thing is the level cap is no longer level 25 and it is now level 40, so that is 15 more levels with 31 additional talent points, which I wasn't entirely sure where those talent points come from. I guess that's the math there. And just like in phase 1, there is a new in-game raid, in-game being a level 40, and when you're geared up a little bit, or probably not even that geared up if we're being honest, where Gnomergan is now a 10-player raid consisting of 6 bosses, which includes 1 additional new boss. Each of the previous 5 bosses have been redesigned to present new challenges within the raid dungeon. This dungeon will also introduce a new world buff, where for the start of the new phase there are 2 lockouts on the normal weekly lockout timer. The first reset will occur on February 13th, with the second occurring on February 20th during regularly scheduled maintenance. And then after that it will switch over to like twice a week like we see with Black Valor Depths. And Gnomergan being an in-game raid now is really cool, and I'm probably not going to be really doing it in this Let's Play series, but I will highlight Gnomergan as a area once we get around to like that level, maybe like a little bit further into the series. Maybe next episode actually we could take a look at that. Where with all this stuff with the new raid and Gnomergan being revitalized and reborn for this new raid, there is a lot of changes, where of course there are the 1 new boss, and then all the bosses are changed with different mechanics, and there's new quests, and there's class sets, and there's a lot of rewards, and there's just a ton of stuff related to this raid, where there are like some boss updates, and there's new loot, and so on and so forth. Where with Season of Discovery Phase 2, there are new skill books as a part of 5-player dungeon drops from various creatures. These quality of life improvements will not take a rune slot and help to address things such as short aura durations for paladin blessings, totem control for shamans, or even as a part of manipulating combo points for rogues and the target these are on, and more. Where these are really cool, but I'm not super interested in doing dungeons, so we'll kind of just like see about that in the future. But of course, with a new phase of Season of Discovery, and with one of the biggest things about Season of Discovery being runes, there are a bunch of new runes, where for each class there are like 6 to 7 new ones, and with shamans I believe we have 7. So we can go ahead and start looking around the world for those, and we can put those into some new armor, and we can go ahead and go back to phase 1 a little bit and look for runes from there as well, because I didn't collect every single one, and we can like look out for some stuff in general just to gear out our character a little bit more. Where I am really enjoying dual wielding axes, which we got at the end of the last episode I believe, and it's just been so much fun playing through it in this episode, and I'm really happy with this. But I also want to look at some other shaman stuff as well in the future. But with runes, of course, we have to go out in the world and find them, where we have gotten teasers for a couple of runes for like each of the classes, so we kind of know what some of the stuff added into the game is, but we don't know everything, and we don't really know where they are. So just like during the start of phase 1 of Season of Discovery, people were going all around the world trying to find all this stuff, and that is happening again now in phase 2 because there's all this new stuff, and that's really cool. And it's really cool that this gets to be like a part of World of Warcraft, because we haven't really had this experience of classic World of Warcraft since like all the way back in the day, because we figured everything out, but now we get to play this game again where we are learning everything again for the first time, which is really cool. But alongside runes, of course, there are some class balance changes, which I don't care too much about, but for people who are interested in kind of like meta and like balancing and stuff like that, there have been some changes in this patch. But just like how in Phase 1 we saw a dungeon be turned into a raid, and just like in Phase 2 we see a dungeon turned into a raid, in Phase 1 there was a brand new PvP event, and in Phase 2 there was a brand new PvP event, where we can dive into the new PvP event, the Blood Moon. This new event brings with it a bit of mayhem to Stranglethorn Vale, and the Blood Moon will shine above the zone, casting an eerie red fog on the area. Where the event, called the Blood Moon, win every 3 hours, duration 30 minutes, where Stranglethorn Vale. During this event, killing players will allow you to earn currency, which can be traded for various rewards. While you can still group up with your allies for the event, the Blood Moon is a harsh mistress and will punish those in raid groups, which is really cool because it's kind of trying to stop people from like all grouping up together and kind of just like rolling around in a ball all across the map, kind of like what we saw in the Ashen Vale event, where they are trying to get people to PvP in this event, unlike in the Ashen Vale event. Where for those who would rather live in peace and harmony with the land, you can opt out of the event by speaking with the Zandalari emissary. You will not be able to earn any rewards from the event if you opt out, and general realm PvP rules will still apply. Unlike in the Ashen Vale PvP event, there will not be any PvP objectives in Stranglethorn Vale's event. You also need to keep a sharp eye out for the Chosen of the Bloodloa, who is more than a force to be reckoned with and will kill all in their path, which is basically like a very strong boss that is just going to be roaming around the map, to my understanding. And when we start exploring Stranglethorn Vale more in depth, we can start taking a look at this event, which I'm very excited to do. But there are a bunch of PvP rewards, some different like armor and weapons and stuff like that. But the big thing is that there are 2 new mounts that you can get, which are faction agnostic, which means both factions can get them, I believe, where there is a new tiger mount and a new raptor mount, which is really cool. And then there are also new quests that have been added that will allow you to earn a Wrathy Basin reputation, which is kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious how that's going to connect into like Stranglethorn Vale, or if that's like somewhere else in the world. It'd be cool if that's like in the Hellsprout Foothills, where there's like more quests there that you can do now. But there are some other PvP updates as well as like an update to the Ashen Vale PvP event. But a really interesting thing is profession updates, where Phase 2 builds and expands on professions from Season of Discovery Phase 1. Players can discover approximately 20 new recipes across all non-gathering professions. This includes recipes for alchemy, enchanting, and engineering, along with leatherworking, tailoring, and blacksmithing. Professions cap at 225 in Phase 2, with profession specializations opening later in Season of Discovery Phase 3. Players can also undertake an epic quest chain to unlock access, which I'm not entirely sure what that means, but recipes include some new materials that players can find throughout Azeroth, and trade with others to get the items they need most to craft their wares. And then beyond that, we saw a ban to GDKP runs, which is overall a good thing for the game, where there are like some people where it's like actually kind of like beneficial for them, but for the most part, it has always just been people spending money to like buy things from other people without really putting in any effort, and like fooling, like botting, and basically messing up every single area of the game because they don't want to put effort into the game. So it's nice to see a crackdown on GDKP runs added into the game, and hopefully this will cause some positive effects across the entirety of the game. Where Phase 1 of Season Discovery was rough for some really popular servers, the server I'm on, it wasn't too bad, but the economy is definitely super messed up because of this stuff. But overall, that is everything that we have seen introduced into the game with Phase 2 of the Season of Discovery, and with me having played it for 5 hours so far, it is super fun, and I have been enjoying it a lot. I've had an absolute blast playing through the new zones, and I have not unlocked any new runes yet, but I have gotten some cool stuff where I like leveled up my leatherworking a little bit. I got some shoulder pads, which we'll see in a moment, and I got some new gloves, which are really cool. But I basically explored a lot of the Southern Barrens, where when we look at the Barrens now, I believe I have completed almost every single quest in this zone. So basically with this episode, we are now completely done with the Barrens, which is a really cool feeling to have, where there wasn't too much left for us to do, and there wasn't really a lot of important stuff for us. A really cool shout out to Baal Modan, which I believe is the name of the Dwarven fortress, which is really cool, where the dwarves are just trying to figure out more about their ancestry, kind of something that we'll be seeing in my Torn Hunter Let's Play series soon. But we also got our first taste of a new race of bug-like creatures that we can fight called the Silithid, which we'll talk more about later. But they are a really big part of like the Southern Kalimdor storyline, and we will be dealing with them in multiple zones. Like there are 4 more additional zones where we will be dealing with the Silithid, if I am correct. But then I also did some stuff in Ashen Vale where I completed a lot of quests in Ashen Vale, but I still have a lot left to do there. And then in Stone Talon Mountains as well, where I completed a lot of quests in the Stone Talon Mountains, and I will be doing more there as well. Where with this episode and then the next episode, I think we're really going to be trying to get to like level 31, I think, which will unlock some new stuff for us to explore. And then as we unlock that, I think the episodes will be slowing down a little bit more and like content pacing, where I know I just threw like 5 hours into the last 10 minutes, where we will start diving deep into some very specific things. But right now, I'm mostly just leveling up, doing things that we have been doing for the last several episodes. So nothing really too important or too exciting. Where now that I have played for several hours in phase 2 of the Season of Discovery and I am level 27, I want to go ahead and leave Kalimdor here and take this boat in Ratchet across the Great Sea to Booty Bay, to Stranglethorn Vale, to the Eastern Kingdoms, which of course we have been to the Eastern Kingdoms by taking a Zeppelin from Orgrimmar to the Undercity and Terrasval Glades. And just like a Zeppelin, except on a boat will take us from one place of the world to another, where this boat is going to take us from Ratchet to Booty Bay, like I've said. And I'm very excited to get a quick sneak peek at Stranglethorn Vale, where of course Stranglethorn Vale is like a level 30 to 45 zone, where we are currently level 27, and we are probably going to start exploring it at around level 31 if I were to guess. But it's going to be nice to get a little bit of a sneak peek of the zone, because I am super excited to explore it a lot in this Let's Play episode, because we only really ran through the zone a tiny bit on our human mage character, and I want to spend a lot of time on our orc shaman here, where of course we are going across the Great Sea here from Ratchet to Booty Bay, and we will be able to arrive in Stranglethorn Vale, where there is currently a PvP event going on. And the Blood Moon is active, and we're toggled for free-for-all PvP, and we might die right now because everybody wants or is aggressive towards us, and I am kind of panicking right now. So there's 5 minutes left on the Blood Moon. This is the PvP event that we were talking about, and if we can get into Booty Bay, that's going to be pretty good for us. So let's get off of here, where we are now here in Booty Bay, which is very exciting. And let's go ahead and run this way. And actually, we have to stop back here, and we have to talk to, is it the Wharfmaster here? Or it's right here, the Warsong Axe shipment. So let's go ahead and pick this up, and we will get our axe shipment that we need, and we can bring this back to Ashtanar, where of course we have a quest that we picked up while we were leveling earlier to get a bunch of things from around the road, and we can go ahead and return to Ashtanar in order to turn that quest in, where I have another quest that I can turn in as well. But Booty Bay is a really cool port city that resides here in the southern tip of the Eastern Kingdoms, where it looks like there's a bunch of Altar of the Bloodlaw all around. That's very cool. But if we zoom out here, we can see all of the Eastern Kingdoms, and we are on the southern tip right now. And I want to go ahead and come up here, where we can go ahead and go to the Flight Master, and there are so many dead bodies everywhere. And I hear fighting somewhere. Where do I hear fighting? Okay, I heard a Tauren die. Okay, this is just a lot of chaos right now. I'm not sure. Do I want to defend myself if I get attacked? Probably. Oh, we cannot talk to the Flight Master right now because we are toggled for this. Where I think there is someone we can talk to. There's a lot of fighting going on down there. Okay, I'm kind of scared right now. Is this the emissary we talked to? Let's see. Will you grant me protection from the Blood Moon? Okay, so the Blood Moon is now gone, and we are now friends with all of our PvP allies here, all the members of the Horde. So let's go ahead and run back up here, where I think we'll probably interact with that a little bit more in the future, but for now we're just going to leave that as that, where there are some alliance around here. Let's go ahead, grab this flight path, and we now have this, but it's not connected to anywhere else, where there is actually one quest that we can go ahead and pick up here if we wanted. So let's go ahead and run this way, where we can go ahead and grab this quest in here. We have supply and demand. Let's accept that, and then let's go ahead and come back this way, and we can wait for the boat, where I didn't mention this at the start of this section of the video, but there are a few different things that I want to do around the road, where this frantic coming to Stranglethorn Vale and trying not to die is one of them, but I also want to explore the Lunar Festival a little bit, where all around the road we have a bunch of elders that we can chat with. So we have Winterhoof the Elder here, and we can go ahead and just speak to them, and we get a coin of ancestry. And then in our mail, like an hour later, we will also get a little red envelope that will have another goodie for us inside of it that we can mess around with. Most of the time it's like a firework or a thing that will throw down a ring of light onto the ground. But let's go ahead and head back towards Orgrimmar, where actually we could go ahead and take a Hearthstone to the crossroads and then fly to Orgrimmar. Where at the crossroads we can go ahead and come chat with the elder here, and we can go ahead and get another coin of ancestry. Where now that we are in Orgrimmar, we can go ahead and run down here, where we have a Lunar Festival Herald who just gave us a quest that we can go ahead and check in our quest log somewhere right here, called the Lunar Festival, where it's that time of the year, Athos, the Cenarian Circle invites all denizens of Azeroth to partake in our celebration of the Lunar Festival. You will find the Lunar Festival Harbinger in this very city at a location marked by a blessed circle of moonlight. She can tell you more about the holiday. So let's go ahead and come up here to the Valley of Wisdom, where there is also potentially another festival going on right now, but it might not actually be going on right now in the vanilla version of the game. So it might be something that we look at another time, but the Lunar Festival is currently going on right now. Where I just googled it, and in vanilla it is a 4-day event, so it is probably going to be sometime later, where we might be able to include it in the next episode. But we have another elder here that we can go ahead and get another coin of ancestry from, and we can also chat with the elder to basically learn about where more of the elders are. So Elder Windholdem is with the goblins of Ratchet. But let's go ahead and talk to this Harbinger here, where we can go ahead and complete this quest, and then we can launch 8 lunar fireworks and 2 cluster fireworks. So if you come to the Lunar Festival vendor here, we can go ahead and buy some of these. So I will just try to buy exactly 8 there, and then we can also get Moonglow, which is a strong alcoholic beverage, and some firecrackers as well. But we can come to the firework launchers, and we can launch the rockets, which we can see get blown up right there. There's a big green burst. Here comes a blue cluster fired off very close to the ground there. There it goes. Oh, it's a little bit higher, I guess. But let's go ahead and just launch all these small green rockets. Where with that, we complete this quest, and we can go ahead and get our invitation, which is going to teleport us to Moonglade, which is the main spot that the festivities take place in. And Moonglade is like a level 55 zone. However, there's no enemies in the zone except, I forget if it's in the classic version of the game or if it gets added later. There is like a road boss that spawns here that we can fight during the Lunar Festival. But we can see here we have all of these different revelers from all the different cities around here, and there are a ton of fireworks going off, and it's just a very cool area. But if you go up this tunnel all the way over here, we will be attacked by some very high level furbolgs that we will be interacting with way later on in this Let's Play series. But let's go ahead and come over here really quickly, where we can go ahead and chat with the Wind Rider Master, and we can go ahead and unlock this flight point, where if we check this, we do not have any places currently connected to this one. And our Hearthstone is currently set at 54 minutes right now, which is not a great situation for us to be in, but I think there might be a way for us to get back. Where we can come up here into Nighthaven, and we can go ahead and enter this town, which is a town ran or owned or lived in by the Cenarian Circle, which is an alliance of druids from both the Night Elves and the Tauren that are working together to basically like preserve nature and fight back against evil forces across Kalimdor and the rest of Azeroth as a whole, where they host the Lunar Festival, where we can come up here and we can go ahead and chat with this guy, and we can complete this quest, where we have another quest called Elun's Candle here, where I guess Omen, who is the road boss, actually does spawn in the classic version of the game. But we can also buy like a bunch of dumplings and stuff here, and we can buy pantsuits, and we can buy dresses, but we need to get coins of ancestry, and we can buy like fireworks and stuff. So really it's kind of just like a lot of cosmetic stuff, and then also something that will help us out against Omen, which is very cool. And we can see here on our map, this is Moonglade, and we have been here a couple of times in my various Let's Play series, where we recently came here on my Night Elf Druid character in the hardcore version of the game. But I think I'm going to go ahead and return back to where we came from, because I believe once this invitation is off cooldown, we can go ahead and use it to teleport back to Orgrimmar, where this is pretty much everything that I wanted to do with the Lunar Festival, because there's not really too much to talk about. We could take a look at the road boss, but I think we can only do the road boss at like level 60, so not too much going on with that, and it's just like a quick fight anyways. We have a giant treant right there that's very cool looking, and then over here we can also see Remulos, who is one of the sons of Cenarius, one of the keepers here in Moonglade. And overall, Moonglade is just a really cool zone, where our Lunar Festival invitation is now off cooldown, and I believe we can teleport to either Orgrimmar, Undercity, or Thunderbluff, and I'm going to go ahead and pick Orgrimmar, where we can go ahead and use this and return to Orgrimmar, where I now want to go back to Splinter Tree Post, where we have basically 2 quests that we can turn in now. So let's go ahead and head there now, where something horrible has happened, where the end of my last video file actually got corrupted, and I'm glad that I caught it, because I was like running OBS and it was like recording and everything, and I realized I was having a really hard time like pausing, so I then like tried to stop it, and it would not stop, and it was like all bugged out, and I was doing a lot of googling, and long story short, we missed some stuff in this episode, where I'm just going to go over it really quickly, where we left off leaving Moonglade, and I went to Splinter Tree Post, and I went and killed Sharp Talon because there was a group doing that. So I've completed all of the Ashen Vale hunts now, and unfortunately I do not have footage of that fight, but I turned that in, which is 2 quests, because once you complete all 3 hunts you get a bonus quest for some experience. And then I turned in all of the supplies we got, where I bought an engineering item, a rifle, off of the auction house, went and turned that in and got one of the items. I went and turned that in, and then I had 3 chapters of a book, where basically in Ashen Vale, every mob in the zone for Horde characters has a chance to drop a page, where if you collect all 12 pages, either by killing the mobs or buying them off of other players or getting them from other players, you can combine them into chapters, which you can turn in for a quest. And I think this is a really cool thing, because we see a very similar quest in Stranglethorn Vale, which we will be exploring soon enough, and it is a neutral quest, so Alliance and Horde can complete that quest. Both of them can complete that quest, where only Horde characters can complete the quest here in Ashen Vale. So it's just a little interesting. But we completed all 3, technically 4 of those quests, and I got like a third of a level of experience, which is pretty good. And we are now here in the Southern Barrens at Camp Drawhole, and I want to go ahead and begin exploring a new zone. I just stopped the recording to like check it and to make sure it's going good, and I think it's good, so hopefully the rest of this video will be all fine, and hopefully it was just a one-off thing. I've been recording and encoding a lot of stuff today because I've been playing Season of Discovery all day, so I think my computer and my OBS was just a little tired. But the zone that I want to explore is the Thousand Needles, which is the next zone here in Kalimdor, where if we take a look at our roadmap, and I should probably be in Ghost Wolf form right now, we can see that we have started here in Durotar, and then we've also explored a little bit of Mulgore, and it has taken us to the Barrens, where the Barrens is a very large zone where we have gone to Stone Talon Mountains, and we have gone to Ashen Vale, all connected to the Barrens, and it is time for us to go to yet another zone where there are 2 more zones directly connected to the Barrens. but one of them is the Thousand Needles, which is a very cool zone. And of course we will be going to more places soon enough. We're looking in Kalimdor. We have Desolace here, which we can start looking at like level 35-ish, I think. And then in the Eastern Kingdoms, we have a lot of stuff to do in Hillsbrad, and then we can start looking at Stranglethorn Vale and the Arathi Highlands, and then there's some like other places around the road that we can look at as well. But in order to get to the Thousand Needles, we are going to go ahead and just run along the Gold Road here, where we have run all the way up to the northern tip at the Morshan Rampart as the Barrens goes into the Ashen Vale, and now we can run the entire length of the zone all the way down here to the southern tip, where the Barrens will be entering the Thousand Needles. Whereas we leave Baal Modan off to our left here, we can go ahead and pass this Stormhide right here, and we can enter the very most southern part of the Barrens, where we can find two dungeons, Razorfin Craw and Razorfin Downs, which we talked about a few episodes ago, and we can go ahead and mostly just pass by them because I am not too interested in exploring them. But we can see way off here in the distance is a very cool structure, and I'm probably just going to go ahead and show off the entrance really quickly to these two dungeons, where we have here the entrance to Razorfin Downs that we can see on our map there, and we have a meeting stone here, a level 37 to level 46 dungeon, which is a very intimidating, and I'm just going to leave that there. But then we can come over here to see Razorfin Craw, which a lot of people have been doing all day today because it is a level 29 to 38 dungeon, so people have just been doing this to get a lot of experience. But we can go ahead and come over here to the structure known as the Great Lift, where we have two Tauren here that we can go ahead and chat with, one that we have a quest to turn into, and then one where we have a quest that we can pick up to go further into the Thousand Needles. And the Thousand Needles is aptly named because if we come over to the edge here, we can go ahead and look down, where yes, we are looking down from the Barrens into the Thousand Needles, where it is a flat riverbed or former riverbed that has been carved into this area of the road and has left all of these like craggy mesas here, needles if you will, and there are, you know, potentially 1,000 of them if we count all of them. I'm sure someone's counted them all, and it's probably something like 200, not 1,000. But you know, 1,000 sounds better than 237 needles. That would be a weird name for a zone. But we can go ahead and come over here, and we can take an elevator very similar to the elevator in Thunderbluff, and this is what I was referencing to there being another one of those in a similar place of the road. But we can take this elevator down into the Thousand Needles, and it is very dark right now because it is 1:31 a.m. where I am, 2:29 a.m. server time. But let's go ahead, take the elevator down, and we can begin exploring the Thousand Needles, where it looks like some people decided to take the quick way down, where I think there is a graveyard right here, so it might be technically faster to just jump off and then respawn. But you know, there's some fun in that, but there's also like some lack of fun or whatever. But I am going to go ahead and head straight towards one location, which is the main horde outpost in this zone, where I don't want to do a lot of exploring right now. I want to do that in a little bit, and I just want to go and pick up some quests and to turn in the quests that we have and to get the flight path, and so we can get some rested experience as well. Where we can see here we have an old Night Elven signpost, where we have a sign going to Thalanar over there, and if you look right here we can actually see, if I can get this camera good right here, we can see an axe in the signpost, and the signpost is kind of like fallen down, where we now have this Tauren signpost here, where we see Feralas, the Great Lift, the Barrens, Free Wind Post, and the Shimmering Flats, where our destination right now is Free Wind Post. So let's go ahead and go this way, where Free Wind Post is on top of one of the needles, where actually multiple of the needles are destinations that we can go to for some different quests and to fight some different monsters, but one of them, or I think it's like technically like 3 of them, make up Free Wind Post, which is going to be our base of operations as we explore this zone. And in this episode, I'm going to try to explore a decent amount of it and maybe get up to like level 28 and a bit, And then next episode, we can continue exploring the Thousand Needles, and we can also go do some more stuff in Ashen Vale and Stone Talon Mountains. And I haven't been back to Hillsbrad in a while, not Ironforge, so we can go ahead and go to Hillsbrad here and do a bunch of the quests around here. But we can see off in the distance here another one of the Tauren elevators, and that, of course, at the top there is Free Wind Post, where there are actually two different ways that we can get up to there, where there is actually a back entrance where along or carved into one of the needles here is actually like a ramp up that we can take, and then we can take like the bridge here to get over there, or we can come to the front entrance and we can take the elevator up, where we see a signpost for Free Wind Post right here, which might be like pointing us over towards one of the entrances, but is also like marking the entrance right here. But let's go ahead and run over towards the elevator here, where we see a Free Wind Brave, and then we have just discovered Free Wind Post. And let's get over to the other side of this elevator, where a couple of other players are currently waiting, where I guess we have to jump this way, and then can we get up here, and then there we go, some hardcore parkour. But as we go to the top, we can go ahead and arrive at the post, which is a very cool place, and we have an elder right there. So let's go ahead and pick up all the quests and turn in all the quests that we can and get the flight path, where we can start with the elder here, and we can just get another coin of ancestry for why not. But we can see one of the bridges going off this direction, and then we can see the bridge coming back this way, and then the ramp goes down there, and I think it then there's another ramp that goes over there, and then the bridge here, and then the ramp down here, or a bridge over there, whatever. But let's go ahead and pick up this quest, Alien Egg, and then let's come back over this way, where we can chat with the Wind Rider Apprentice to get some high pressure wyvern eggs here. And now we have this flight path here, which connects to every other flight path that we have collected in Kalimdor so far. And then it looks like there's something to fight right there. Oh, it's part of a quest, I suppose. But then let's go ahead and turn in this quest, and then we can go ahead and pick up this quest. And then there's a quest we can turn in here, and we also have a wanted poster for Arnak Grim Totem. And let's go ahead and turn in this Sacred Flame quest. And then we can get the Cloven Hoof from Split Hoof Hold. So let's go ahead. I think that's what the quest is anyways. But we can go ahead and head back down into the Thousand Needles. And let's go ahead and begin exploring this area of the world. And let's chat about the lore here. Before the Great Sundering, the region of Thousand Needles was a river canyon, the spires of sandstone shaped from years of rushing water. Water flowed to the sea from a large lake to the east, fed by an underground tributary. Then came the demons and the destruction that threw the entire world into upheaval. The canyon was thrust above the water table, the eastern lake dried into a vast salt flat, and Thousand Needles became a sandy gorge. Thousand Needles rises south of Dustwallow Marsh and serves as a channel to Desolus to the west, or to the Tenaris Desert to the south. It also connects to Feralas. The long canyon stands as a natural divide between central and southern Kalimdor. The realm gets its name from the dozens of giant cylindrical columns of sandstone that rise from the bottom of the canyon like a forest. Bridges have been constructed atop many of the spires, connecting pathways across the canyon from one side of the surrounding mountains to the other. To the east of Thousand Needles, the canyons open into a large, dry lake bed. This dried-out salt flat is actually below sea level. At its center stands an alkaline lake with 10 times the salt of any ocean. The sea region is so hot, dry, and salty that few creatures venture here. Lizards, scorpions, vultures, and birds of prey are not uncommon, and neither are centaur warbands. A contingent of goblins mine for oil in the scorched basin. The spire bridges allow travelers to traverse the canyon without running into the barbaric centaur who patrol the canyon floor. The bridges are not entirely safe, however, as birds of prey will attack the unwary. Larger birds have even sabotaged the bridges from time to time. There is very little of interest in this land unless someone has a passion for salt, or sandstone, or oil. The barren canyons of Thousand Needles have traditionally been the territory of several Tauren tribes. The Tauren were forced to live precariously on the tips of the high mesas in order to avoid the large tribes of centaur that almost wiped them out. Now, with the help of the Horde, the Tauren are fighting back against their enemies, including the fanatical Grim Totem tribe. The shimmering flats to the southeast are also home of the world-famous Mirage racetrack, where gnomes and goblins race their respective rocket cars in order to permanently settle the question of which race has better engineering. It is suspected that ages ago, Thousand Needles was once a small inland sea, or perhaps even an inlet of the Great Sea. This explains the salt flat, as well as why there are so many needle-like mesas, once possibly islands. The cause for the sea's evaporation could be attributed to the sundering, which tore the ancient Kalimdor cleanly in two. A catastrophe such as this could easily have caused climate change. Another theory states that a river with its source in Feralas, possibly Wildwind Lake, flowed into the area that would become Thousand Needles. The river cut through the earth, carving the canyon, shaping the dramatic pinnacles that became the Thousand Needles. It was a verdant, forested land. The river emptied into a large inland sea in the east. When the Great Sundering occurred, the course of the river was altered and ceased to flow through what would become Thousand Needles. The forests died and the fertile soil became orange dust. The inland sea, without its source of water, evaporated, leaving behind a vast salt flat. It has also been thought by Falfindel, Waywarder of Thalanar, that dark magic of some kind blighted the land. The Grim Totem tribe is one of the mightiest Tauren tribes. They stand as an aggressive extreme of the usually pacifistic Tauren, wishing to eradicate the lesser races from Kalimdor and retake the Tauren's long-lost ancestral holdings. The Grim Totem tribe fights to eliminate the enemies of the Tauren. To the Grim Totem, almost all races are enemies of the Tauren. They are known for unprovoked attacks, slaughter, and mayhem, in great contrast to the peaceful, spiritual nature of the other Tauren clans. From early childhood, while other Tauren their age learn the rights of the Great Hunt and to be in harmony with nature, the Grim Totem are taught how to fight each other. They learn to kill quickly and cleanly with hands, horns, and whatever weapon that they can get their hands on. In any given conflict, the odds are with a Grim Totem to emerge victorious. They do not fight honorably, they fight to win. While their matriarch lived in Thunderbluff and the Grim Totem enjoyed all rights of being a Tauren, the Grim Totem are in fact the only Tauren tribe to have never formally joined the Horde. The noted few Grim Totem to directly work with the Horde include the likes of Magatha and Ravak Grim Totem. Ravak was sent by Magatha herself to study the other races in Otrak Valley, particularly the Gnomes. Meanwhile, Magatha enlisted the aid of Horde adventurers to deal with the Trogs and Ragefire Chasm. The Grim Totem Tauren found in the Stone Talon Mountains, Thousand Needles, Dustwallow Marsh, and Feralas are hostile to both the Horde and the Alliance. As a matter of fact, the Grim Totem have directly attacked their fellow Tauren by striking out against those in Freewind Post and are responsible for attacking a Tauren village in Stone Talon. With these hostile actions, the Horde forces at Sunrock Retreat, Freewind Post, and send out Horde adventurers to strike back at the Grim Totem. Horde forces at Camp Mohachi are also actively hostile to the Grim Totem within the region. The Grim Totem within Dustwallow were revealed to have been responsible for the destruction of the Shady Rest Inn, a move which has resulted in the Horde and Alliance to engage them in conflict. The Grim Totems in the marsh were supplied armor by Mosarn. Magatha Grim Totem is the elder crone and matriarch of the once mighty Grim Totem tribe. A powerful shaman and cunning leader, Magatha was a chief rival to High Chieftain Cairn Bloodhoof for the leadership of all Tauren. Blessed with shamanic powers when she was just a young girl, Magatha has sought power and prestige nearly all her life. She became the matriarch of the Grim Totem clan through an arranged marriage that many suspect she arranged herself, but subsequently lost her mate to an unforeseen climbing accident. Since her mate's death, Magatha has commanded the stern Grim Totem warriors. The Grim Totems believe that Magatha will lead them in eradicating the lesser races from Kalimdor and retaking the Tauren ancestral holdings abroad. Magatha constantly sparred with Cairn Bloodhoof over the direction of the Tauren future and feels that only she is fit to rule her people. For reasons known only to herself, Magatha gave more aid to the Forsaken than to other high-ranking Taurens such as Cairn Bloodhoof or Hamul Rune Totem. This included arguing on their behalf when the idea of forming an alliance with them was first suggested. Ostensibly, she's helped them and continues to work closely with them because she feels a Tauren in their ways can help the Forsaken find a path back to being human. Skeptics believed her motives to be much less altruistic. Skeptics, which also did not trust the Forsaken. Magatha tried to negotiate with the Trogs of Ragefire Chasm, but was met with hostility. She also sent Ravak Grim Totem to observe other races, especially the Gnomes. where that is all the lore and story that I want to talk about in this episode, and that is all the adventuring and leveling that I want to do in this episode, where it is really nice to be playing through Phase 2 of the Season of Discovery, and I really hope you all enjoyed this episode, and I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember, as always, to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.